Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of August. I hope you're well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. So if you haven't seen these readings before, we do it slightly differently for the mid-month in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I think that there is wisdom or a lesson contained within every experience and interaction that we have, if only we can see it. And sometimes we lose sight of that in the minutiae of day-to-day life, right? That this energy can be quite challenging sometimes. We all find ourselves in positions where that is true. And it's easier to navigate it if you can kind of work out why you're supposed to be there in the first place. So sometimes it's about clearing something out of your life to allow something new to come in. Sometimes it's trying to teach you something about yourself. We won't know until the cards hit the table. So what I'm going to do is pull 3 cards for your current energy, and then 3 cards as to why you are in that energy in the first place. And then we'll close out with 3 cards of advice. I hope that makes sense. It's basically an exercise in perspective. So the other thing that I have to tell you is that there have been some people impersonating me on Instagram, and it's grubby to even talk about it. I don't like it at all. But they, stole some of my videos, stole some of my pictures, and then started sliding into people's DMs offering them readings because they had important messages from the universe. This is not me. It's not how I work at all. I do not solicit business in that way. In the first instance, I am not doing personal readings at all at the moment because I am completely exhausted. In the second, when I do, and I will at some point, it will all be done through the Acuity Scheduler, and there will be announcements on here. I'll post about it on Instagram, and the patrons. I'll tell the patrons as well. Like you'll know when I'm doing it. I'm not going to slide into your DMs and tap you up that way. So to that end, don't only follow the links in the description boxes. It's not just me. Apparently, this is really prevalent in the tarot community at the moment. There are loads of scammers around. I think it's distasteful as fuck, but there we are. And if you're in any doubt at all, email me, bring it to my attention, and I'll let you know if it's me or not, because I can guarantee 100% it's not going to be me if I've contacted you directly and asked you if you wanted a reading. It's just not going to happen. Anywho, so with all of that done, let's have a look and see what's going on with Virgo, please. 3 cards for Virgo. It's the first one. We have Wheel of Fortune. Virgo, please. We've got 2 coming out together. We've got the 4 of Pentacles and the 2 of Cups. Good Lord, that's what fell right into the box. Come on out. And then we have the Queen of Swords. Right. We've got the 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting because it actually feels like a release coming up. The 10 of Wands is a card of burden. It is a card of things being very, very difficult, but it is also numbered 10. So it indicates a completion to that kind of feeling going on. And underneath it, we have the Lovers, the Page of Wands, and the Ace of Cups. And this and the High Priestess beyond that too. And it actually doesn't feel like anything even remotely concerning to me. It is as a fly, just something a little bit irritating. Right? Fly in the ointment, nothing more. Because here we do have someone coming up to the light, and he's got the wands on his back, and I have to say, of all the 10 of Wands cards that I've ever seen, this one seems to have the most sensible approach to carrying the 10 wands. But they are undoubtedly heavy, because he is bent over. But notice how he's going from the dark to the light. Right? And is that not a process that you've been undergoing for quite a while now? I think so. But this Lovers and the Page of Wands and the Ace of Cups and the High Priestess, they all seem to be gearing you up towards something, Virgo. Now, I've alluded a number of times in readings for you that if you were after a quiet life, it probably wasn't going to happen. You were going to be a little bit disappointed in that, but in the nicest possible way, in the best possible way. And the energy that you're in at the moment seems to be gearing you up towards that. Like I said, this Lover's card is a card of conscious co-creation, you know, that which you choose to bring into your life. And we've got the Page of Wands, which is indicating preparatory steps for bringing that in. But we also have the Ace of Cups and the High Priestess. This is, and both of these are just beautiful cards. I mean, look at them. There. They're both dealing with the emotional. And this has been really, really important to you over the last year, 18 months anyway, right? It's an opening up to flowering. Now, you usually see the lotus flower on the Ace of Cups, and it is exactly that. It's that opening up kind of feel going on here. But the High Priestess talks about the wisdom that you channel through from somewhere else, whether it is the universe or your higher self or even God, if you're that way inclined, right? Possibly all words for the same thing. I don't know. But it looks like there are some really tremendous opportunities that are getting ready to open up for you. And then we come to the cards on the table. Now, the Wheel of Fortune, we often see when fortunes are about to improve in some way, right? Now, the wheel turns always, and sometimes you're on the down, and sometimes you're going up again. And the last year was definitely down for you, and you've been down there for a while, and now you're on your way back up. But it looks like it's going up and up and up, Virgo. And actually, in the 6-month overview that I did for each of the signs, I think it spoke specifically to Virgo, and it was only Virgo actually who had this kind of reading, that it was more about acclimatizing yourself to the fact that things are good and they will be good, and it is okay for them to be good for you. You know, every other sign has got some pretty major transformations going on with them, but they are necessarily quite uncomfortable. They're causing discomfort. The discomfort for you is accepting the good things that are coming towards you and exercising a level of trust in the fact that they are here to stay and that you deserve them, and all of the other things that go along with that, right? So we have this Wheel of Fortune right here, very first card. But it's also a teaching moment of some description. And I'm looking at this card, and there's this, you know, we don't have the the kind of very symmetrical and straightforward circular shape that we usually associate with the Wheel of Fortune. It feels like things are kind of wiggling around a little bit for you at the moment, and I feel like you've kind of picked this up. Intuitively, it feels like there are things around you that are kind of clunking into position without quite knowing where this is going to lead. You're kind of looking at it and going, this is not really a wheel. If I attach this to a cart, it certainly wouldn't take me in a straightforward direction. I'd be, you know, all over the shop, and it would probably break off and all sorts of things, you know. But the thing is, despite the fact that you can't see quite where this path leads, it doesn't mean that it's not turning and that it's not doing its job. This is your perception ahead of time. After this point, and maybe towards the end of the year is what I'm being told here, towards the end of the year you will be able to see how everything very neatly aligned for you, even if you couldn't perceive it at the time. But what we've got going on here, interestingly, is the Four of Pentacles and the Two of Cups, and it does feel to me a little bit like, you see, in the first instance we absolutely have the people that are around you, individual one-to-one relationships that are important to you, that you want to keep hold of. Doing exactly that, right? Really, really making concrete those foundations that underpin those relationships, right? And Virgos have that attention to detail with these sort of things anyway, right? So you are very attentive to other people, naturally, right? Very thoughtful. But I feel like there's something else going on underneath here. It's too obvious, too flat, a kind of message. Tell me about the Four of Pentacles, please. We've got the Ten of Pentacles. We've got the Magician, which is, for some people, a Virgo card. We've got the Four of Cups here. Yeah. See, this is where I felt a wiggle, a little cellular wiggle. The Four of Pentacles is about holding on to things, you know, relationships, whatever. But sometimes it's holding on a little too tight, in which case there are one or two relationships that are going to be cut adrift very soon. Now, I don't want you to panic about this. They may be close, they may not be that close, but they seem to be old. With this Ten of Pentacles, right? You don't get Ten of Pentacles in a second, overnight. Well, you might do if you win the lottery, right? Or, you know, you inherit something or something like that. For the most part, that's taken time and care and effort and diligence to accrue those 10 Pentacles. So what we've got there is a sense of heritage going on, right? Somebody, you potentially, having put in a lot of your effort to create this very stable situation. Like the Ten of Pentacles is, although it's a Pentacles card, it's often called the happy family card. And so we're looking at those kind of long running relationships. But there's something about this particular association, and it doesn't have to be a partner or, you know, very close family or very close friends. It could be a little bit further out than that, but it could also be business partners and things, like business partnerships that you find yourself in. I don't feel like it is, but for some of you it might be. It's coming to an end. We've got the Five of Wands and we've got the Three of Pentacles. Now, despite the presence of the Five of Wands, I don't feel a great deal of conflict from you over this. What I actually feel is this great sense of acceptance that we've got here with this Knight of Cups, because either you have dramatically outgrown this relationship. No, that's kind of how it feels, actually. I'm just going to stop it there. It feels like you've outgrown it. Now, sometimes that can lead to feelings of guilt, and you're like, well, you know, but the fact is that you and this other person are entirely different levels, and I feel like what you have been through over the last 18 months has kind of led you to a point where you realize that when it is time, people will leave and new people will come in, and I do feel like new people will be coming in for you very, very strongly. I almost said Aries then, which is not something that I do. Interestingly, you might be something to do with an Aries here. I've just noticed actually as I picked the deck up, I left the Hermit on the table. Didn't even notice that I'd done that. That's the Virgo card right there. So we can see some sort of self-examination going on here by you in this, but like I said, I don't feel any sense of sadness over this. I don't feel any sense of loss over this. It feels a little bit like perhaps somebody's showing their true colours, and you're kind of looking at them and you're like, well, are we to be tethered together forever simply by dint of the fact that it has always been this way? You know, this for me is a point of heritage and legacy colliding, and so, you know, what has built up over a period of time, will it continue, right? Has it got the legs to continue? It feels like a pulling apart, but it's a pulling apart that actually serves you very, very well. I think that there's something about this relationship that has been slightly uncomfortable for you anyway for a little while, and maybe the discomfort has come by way of the fact that you were just, yeah, it was that feeling of guilt that was kind of like, well, it's not right to just leave people behind because, you know, we've got different opinions on things. It feels like it's more than different opinions. So it's a fundamental mismatch which you now see and did not see before. Right? So we've got this Queen of Swords here, that Libran energy. The great sifter of information, as I see the Queen of Swords. Right? And she's kind of, you know, she looks like she's in that position of, you know, conducting a little benediction before she goes off to do a particular sort of thing, right? You know, she's illuminated over her head there. It's an ability to be able to sift through, like I said, you know, great quantity of information and come to a conclusion about it. It's very discerning. And so while it is that it's not a comfortable place for you to be. You're not overjoyed about this. The Queen of Swords gets done what needs to be done, right? This is a reading of clearing space, for sure. And like I said, we've even, you know, even before we start getting down to this, we already had that from the shadow cards at the bottom of the deck. You need to create space for new things to come in, and the universe is going to be showing you very, very soon, like, what needs to be cut loose. Because the Queen of Swords will do that. She will cut it loose. She's not a great, you know, swinging energy of bitterness or vindictiveness or anything like that. In her upright, she's incredibly fair. And I do feel like it's just like, okay, well, we're not really compatible now, you know. And I don't want you to feel any guilt about that. Just go with it. Let the universe do its thing. Why is Virgo in this energy right now? We've got the Nine of Swords, the Six of Cups, and the Hermit. How very interesting. And we've got the Temperance card at the bottom of the deck. This is letting go of a lot of things that have caused you these. You know, it's these energy of night terrors. We'll see here. Yes, you know, this is an energy of overthinking, right? And that's something that Virgos know a lot about. It's also an energy of intense self-criticism, because although there are dark hands that are reaching for her and she is absolutely surrounded by swords, all of this feels to me like it's coming from the inside of her own mind. And this is confirmed even more by the Six of Cups here again. Situations and events that exist no longer now, other than in here for you. We're talking about memories. We're talking about going back into the past. And I've said this before for you, Virgo, although what you've been through in the last 18 months was the most recent and possibly most destructive iteration of, you know, an energy of loss that you have experienced, there are other things in your past that have absolutely been shades of the same thing, right? May not have appeared in the same way, but when we're talking about themes of loss, you know, you can absolutely put in themes of abandonment in childhood and stuff like that in there too. You know, this is past things now coming to the surface to be excised by you, you know, by your Queen of Swords energy. It's a clearing out of your energetic space, Virgo. And you've done so much work, like, and I really want to reiterate this. I don't feel any sense of discomfort here for you in this process. I don't see you being slammed down into the grips of depression or anything like that. It's not that kind of energy at all. It's about an acknowledgement of those shadowy hands that have always reached for you inside your own mind, right? And the contemplation of the fact that they exist and are perpetuated only by the contents of your head. It's almost like, you know, in many ways, your brain has not been your best friend for a considerable amount of time, right? But as you are shifting from a brain feeling, kind of brain-centered kind of way of approaching the world, which is very characteristic of earth sign energy anyway, right? Because shifting more into a heart-centered model here, you've never had any issue forgiving other people. You've never had any issue, or maybe you have had some issues at times, right? But you've always pushed beyond it. You've always given other people the benefit of the doubt to a far greater extent than you would ever extend it towards yourself. This feels like a profound shift in your perception of yourself, right? It's almost like an observation of your mind and the way that it works. And you're kind of looking at it, you go, why are you such a dick? Like, why do you do this to me? This is really mean. Like, stop it. It's that kind of energy here where you see where you have tripped yourself up time and time and time again. And as a result of situations that were never your fault. Like, and will reiterate that they were never your fault, but they came together to create this kind of mindset here where self-criticism and this way that you have of slipping the knife between your own ribs so that there's no room for anybody else to do it, right? Kind of perceiving that and its originating point and going, I'm just not feeling that anymore. I don't really understand why I've ever done that to myself, but I'm certainly not going to do it anymore. And we have you here as the Hermit. Now, the Hermit is the card of Virgo. It speaks about, in some ways, it speaks of going on an internal journey, but I see it more, I feel it more as that point of stillness where you just allow these things to come up, right? It's not an active expedition like a journey to the center of the earth or something like that, right? You are not Jules Verne at this point. What you are is a still and peaceful creature who can observe what is going on inside their brain, and their brain is just a 3D processing machine. It's just designed to take in 3D input from your 5 senses, you know? You feel like you've shifted like 90 degrees to the point where you've kind of been able to extricate your mental limbs from your own thought processes, and then turn around and look at them and go, I don't want that anymore. I don't need that anymore. It's going now. You know? I'm gonna heal it. And what are you healing? Wow, look at this. We've got the Temperance card on the top, but in between we've got the Ten of Swords, we've got the Seven of Swords, we've got the Death card. What's this other one that I picked up? It's King of Pentacles there. We've got huge transformation and healing coming in for you of all of those things that have wounded you in the past, right? All of those shitty ways that people behaved when you were young. You're elevating beyond it, Virgo. This is profound. I've been using that word a lot for you recently. Was that not what I called your video for August? I cannot remember. I'm sure it was something like profound internal shift. Well, this is it going on right here. There's some cards of advice for Virgo, please. Wow. Page of Cups. Are we surprised? We are not surprised. Knight of Swords. And the Queen of Wands with the King of Wands at the bottom of the deck. This is wonderful, Virgo. This is truly wonderful. Page of Cups. Exactly the energy that I was talking about, that you need to deal with this. It is forgiving. It is compassionate. It is you extending this energy to yourself. You know, if you can sit in an objective space and be able to look at the ways in which, you know, the program that your brain is running, and see how limited that has been for such a long time, and how it just does not do half of the things that you need it to do at all, you know. If your brain is the computer, or your body is the computer, I don't know where I'm going to go with this metaphor, but bear with me, right? What you're looking at is upgrading your software, right? Because you're running like a beta version of you know, some sort of really incredible software that actually, you know, will do all sorts of things for you, and this is kind of like limping along and playing Frogger on it, right? It's that kind of thing, and your computer is capable of running so much more, so much better, and it's like you kind of pulling open the computer and going, well, shit, look at all this amazing hardware in here, like I could do everything. Oh, it's fucking water cooled and it's got a fucking incredible graphics card and all this sort of thing. Like, wow, why am I only playing, well, not even Frogger, maybe I'm playing Pong on here, you know? It's about letting all of that go and going, how do I upgrade my software now? I'm ready to upgrade my software. And here's this Gemini energy of the Knight of Swords here with the Queen too, right? The Knight of Swords is all about the transmission of information for me. So sometimes it could be communication with people. And if you have got to have some conversations, and they might be difficult conversations of, you know, I don't know, just don't be afraid to do that, because it feels to me like you understand the situation perfectly. And the way in which you express yourself will transmit that perfectly too. I keep getting drawn to this light and the sword. You know, and the Queen of Swords, it's literally atop this Ace of Swords that she's holding in her hand. But in the Knight of Swords, like, look at it, man. It's a dramatic card. Sword in one hand, light in the other. This is you now, right? You're illuminating your way, and there is a maze behind you there. Like, you may not see exactly the path forwards, but you've got a fucking sword, and it's great. It's the Ace of Swords. It is the truth as it exists for you, and you've got a light to illuminate your way. So, you know, you're not going into the dark anymore. You've got a way of guiding yourself forwards, and if you see any, you know, shadowy hands, such like that, you just literally spear them straight through with your sword. Fucking nice. I like it. And we've got the Queen of Wands with the King of Wands here. It's about really being able to take charge of the way that you act in the day-to-day. The one suit is all about living. It's about experience. It's about doing. What do you want to do? How are you going to do it? How are you going to engage with the unknown? Because I feel like it's differently now, Virgo, to how it might have been before. The unknown might have been something that filled you with complete terror before. But there are shades of you being guided by something much more powerful now. And this fear is just slipping away. It's just like smoke. It's just disappearing. You're getting so strong. That's wonderful, right? I'm going to leave it there, Virgo, but props to you. This is awesome. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.